Matt, we need to do this more often, or at
We
least
do.
every once in a while. We need to review a movie that is actually great, a classic. We need to go back and treat
Ooh.
ourselves because I
You know
feel
what would
like
be you know what would be good is if
what's
we
that?
if we went back when you know how Hollywood has a really really bad tendency to reboot a lot of things and carry franchises way too far
Yes,
when they're based off of excellent movies. When those movies come out, we should go back and look at the classics,
we
the
will.
ones that
Let's always do it
maybe not always.
for the good ones that we want to.
Yeah, exactly. What's what are we talking about?
Well, listen,
What do,
I mean, I've seen a lot of crappy movies lately and some good ones, but
I agree.
to watch this was cinematic heaven. This
Yeah,
movie is so perfect. Ridley Scott is so amazing.
that's a word I like to use, and I used it before we started recording. Man, it's pure. It's just for the terror. There's no extra in it. It's just there to be
Yeah,
scary. It's so good.
there's so many beautiful. It has the wonder of a sci-fi movie,
Yes.
the slow build and dread of a horror movie, and
Yes.
then the fun murder of a slasher movie.
Yes.
And what I think Ridley Scott does so well is that he goes tense, 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 and then there was a scene that happened later on,
Yeah.
and we'll get to this later. But I
Yeah.
thought this is a weird scene. It seems so casual. And then as the scenes kept unfolding, I realized, oh, they're building to the next scare, and they
Yeah.
want you to relax. Like, for example, Sigourney Weaver's underwear scene at the end.
Yes.
A lot of
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh, what are you doing? Why is she in her underwear? That's stupid." The
It's
whole point
intentional.
was to make you feel cozy, like, "Oh, it's okay. We're just gonna go to bed. She's in her
Some
underwear. Look at this. This is nice. Ah, there's a butt crack. That's funny." And then, bam!
there's the
Alien is back.
alien.
And when they show you,
Alien.
and when they show you the alien at the end, it's in plain sight. It's just hidden in the shelf.
That's probably the best part of that movie in general. Just well, when it comes to hiding the alien, of course, we're talking about the 1979 Ridley Scott perfective classic Alien, featuring Sigourney Weaver, Tom Skerritt.
Can you believe 1979?
Well, and that's the thing that really draws me into this movie, or really reminds me. The question about this, I think, and the thing we should come to at the end is, does it hold up to modern day standards?
Oh yeah.
Because it holds up in a viewing. But it's funny because when you think about Alien in the purest sense, if you ask somebody what the genre of Alien was, they'd be like horror. But when you look at today's horror movies and what those embody, I would say that Alien would be classified as a suspense movie nowadays because even
Sure.
suspense are inherently violent. I guess you have H.G. Geiger and the Alien design to thank for the horror element. When you look at Alien, it's very, very much about creating an atmosphere and then drawing you into the atmosphere. Because, like you said, for the time, especially, it has the wonderment, which is it's such a testament has to be made to the guys who made this
Testify.
film. I gotta testify, guys. Look, it's 1979,
Yeah.
and you are able to make me fully believe that they are in the cosmos. It feels fully realized. I feel like I'm watching Interstellar. And we're talking about 1979, guys. It's 2017. We're like 35 plus years. The fact that the movie Magic was able to be molded by Ridley Scott in such a cinematically pleasing way, it makes this movie not only terrifying when it's terrifying, but it makes it gorgeous to look at in general, which is good because speaking of the story of Alien,
Yeah.
like I said, it's pure because there's not a lot of subplots. There's not a lot of side plots. There's like one, if you want to count that with Ash. A lot of the movie is just about what happens when a containment is breached, and that is the whole movie. They don't really get into it's a character study, which is great because all the actors are phenomenal except for one. We'll talk about her later. But it's a movie that is just as intimate with its characters and its story that you feel like it's a family. So the character deaths matter. You feel invested. Everything looks very beautiful. It's high stakes because it feels dangerous because you believe they're in space. Everything about Alien, specifically for its time, was so well done that it's hard to not
Yeah.
call it a classic right at the beginning. But the one thing that I think kind of disappointed me going back and watching it, I've seen it a ton of times, but really watching with a close eye, they kind of, besides John Hurt's iconic scene, there's not a whole lot of gore. There's not a whole lot of blood and guts that's visual. It's kind of got that Jaws feeling of like it's not exactly what you see, but what you don't see. It's an Alfred Hitchcock approach, which is why I think why Alien does so well.
Yeah, about the characters, I think
You
if
want to
every
list them off?
sure,
wanna-
all right. Well,
wanna
we've
go-
got Captain.
We got a crew of 7. Yeah, we have
Crew of
7 guys.
All right, so Ripley, and the nice thing about this is it's not really a lead for most of the movie.
Yeah.
They're just a team.
Oh
So
yeah,
we've got-
there's no one person who's really high except for the captain, but just by order.
right. So Captain Dallas.
Yes, played by Tom Skerritt. The
And the nice
classic.
thing, what I like about Dallas is that he just seems like a guy who wants to get home too, and he makes the tough decisions, but he also will fudge the rules here and there, and he's not as eager. He's not as eager as Jonathan Hurt's character to go exploring.
Right. Yep.
They show that multiple times. Whereas like Jonathan Hurt's like, yeah, we can walk there, and he laughs at him. He's like, ugh.
He's like,
walking
I don't want to.
distance?
He's more like Parker. Parker. He's
Right.
he's just in it. He has what he was contracted to do. He feels like, okay, I have to follow these protocols, But like you said, he's very human, and I think that's a sentiment that can be applied to almost every character in this film. Is they all feel incredibly human and incredibly relatable. At any point, you can put yourself in these people's shoes and see things from their perspective because they're very open and they feel human. They feel human, specifically with like John Hurt, Sigourney Weaver. These guys are tremendous actors. But yeah, let's list them off. So we have Dallas, played by Tom Skerritt. Then
Okay, we got Ash,
Ash,
the science
Ash.
officer.
I really like him a lot. That's who's Ash played by? Ian Holm.
That's right.
Ian Holm. I really like Ash a lot, and I like that his portrayal is just as stoic as it needs to be, without you knowing.
When you watch again and you know that he is eventually going to be revealed as this android, and
That's
then
the big twist.
you see all the little elements that he's doing where he's trying to. There's a few things he says where he'll kind of like sometimes jump to a conclusion too quickly, maybe to protect the alien, and then he sees that the other humans react like, oh, that's strange, why'd you act like that? And then he sort of like readjusts, he reassesses everything. There's that that one scene where he's by himself and he looks around and then he jogs in place really, really fast.
Yeah, like almost super inhumanly fast, really, really fast, really quick. But you're not sure.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know. Is that a robotic thing? It's just fast enough to be a little unsettling.
Exactly, and that's it's the whole thing is I think it's slowly unsettling and it's slowly building up, and Ash it's more than just the testament to the actor's ability, but also the writing, because like you said, as you go back and you watch it and Ash's true intent from the beginning. All of his dialogue is slowly guiding. He's trying to guide them towards. He's very, very methodical, but very smart about how he does stuff. So going back and watching it, you could see that it was a complete idea. They didn't just write in this twist. That's what Ash's character is for. And he feels robotic throughout the movie and feels almost non-human. Like I said, you can say that a lot of them are human, except for maybe give or take a few characters. And that's what's most striking about Ash, is that he's very reserved. But he does feel human. Beyond Ash, we had, like you said, Kane, played by the late John Hurt.
Now, Kane, they sort of put off as the lead character because he's the first one to wake up.
Yep.
He's the most alert, and I love that he's the first one to wake up because he's the one that wants to explore. He's the one that pushes them into finding the egg and opening it, and he's the one who eventually gets the face hugger, gets the chest burster. So every scene. Like, if great movies, if you look at any scene that happens, you can always trace back, and every scene and every line of dialogue pushed towards and supported that. And we saw Kane the whole time was the guy that wanted to go, and I love the movie. Kind of makes him feel like the lead character, so that's why it's extra shocking when he gets a friggin' face hugger on him and he becomes the first victim.
He's the most heroic. He's the one that embodies the lead character the most, and I think that's something that's interesting about Alien the most, is that it plays on your expectations. I mean, besides the fact that it is cliche that Sigourney Weaver ends up as the girl who lives. Most horror movies, it likes to kind of subvert the tropes of horror at that time, and make a very intellectual movie. I mean, it is also sci-fi, and sci-fi mostly sci-fi horror is inherently intelligent just based on narrative structure, but I think that Alien is really good and intelligent in the way that they comprise their shots, their scenes, and like you said, everything is a web. You know, you can look at any piece of the story and you can trace it back, and you can see that these storylines, or just the one storyline or two, were very very well thought out. The movie is very focused, and it all comes back around to what you said, what you were originally looking at. Let's let's talk about my least favorite character real quick. Lambert, played by Veronica Cartwright. Right.
Yeah, she doesn't really. I mean, I understand that she is. They have her being hysterical most of the movie,
But she doesn't do much.
I think she's supposed to be there maybe to heighten the horror in the way that you see somebody freaking out. There's one scene where they've lost a few of the crew members, and they're down to like 6 crew members, and they're trying to figure out what to do. And she's saying, "Let's just get into an escape pod and go." And Ripley, always the serious one, always with the logic, says they can only hold 4. And Cartwright says, let's just draw straws. Like, she's not even thinking clearly. And I think that is, even though her portrayal is very grating, and a lot of the character choices are very grating, I think that that's pretty realistic. I think there would be somebody in the group who would say, "Fuck it, let's just go. I don't care. Draw straws, whatever."
I think that she's a human. She's there for a purpose. I just don't. Maybe it's just Veronica Cartwright's, like, her crying is annoying to me, which feels bad.
When I look at her, I think of the 70s.
Yeah, and that's the weirdest thing. I mean, you can still see the 70s in, like,
she was the idea of beauty in the 70s. That was the style.
Yeah, and that's the whole time I'm sitting there looking, like, I'm like, oh, Sigourney Weaver looks so pretty. And it's just, I mean, she's just wearing her hair down. She's kind of aloof. Like, you can see some of the 70s in it. But I guess that's probably one of the best things about Alien. I think the reason it works so well in modern times is that inherently the movie has no time or place. You know, besides the hairstylings of a few of the characters or some of the lingo, it's in space, you know. So you can buy into it. And I think they did a good job hiding some of that. But you're right. Yeah, her character does kind of scream that time period. It's a decent character, but I feel like like you said, she's the one who contributes the least. At least you have with Dallas, with Tom Skerritt's character, you know, you have the butting of heads with power plays. You know, when they're coming back originally, John Hurt, they go on their first expedition, they find the egg. John Hurt is hurt, and you have Tom Skerritt's character and I think Lambert, Veronica Cartwright, and they're trying to get back into the ship. And Sigourney Weaver's saying, no, he could be contaminated. You know, you have to stay out there for however long. And you know, she's really, like you said, being logical. And then that's when you see Ash, you know, hit the button because he has his own intentions. But I think Lambert's almost like a sidekick the entire time, which is interesting because she is more focal, I would say, in the grand scheme of how the team is played out. She's considered more important than our 2 next characters who have to come together, Parker and Brett, the maintenance guys.
I love Parker and Brett. I think that one of the greatest things Alien did was that a lot of early sci-fi was very glossy and shiny, and everything looked like they just made it in an effect shop. Star Wars and Alien brought in that gritty universe. Yeah. But I think Parker and Brett they just seem like 2 dudes working on a rig. I like that he immediately brings up that he wants to discuss the payment. You get this feeling like they're going to start their own little mini union. They're going to go on strike. Even after they first wake up and then they get the call, Captain Dallas says, "I need you to go do this." And Parker looks at him. He's like, "Well, I'm just going to finish my food first, my coffee." And there's kind of like that bit of dissent. And when you see that, you realize this isn't the military. This isn't the Navy. These are just dudes and dudettes.
Cargo ship,
they're transporting resource. I love that it's a resource too, because it really gives you that feeling of like an oil rig or something. 20 million tons of ore.
And that's why it's, like I said, it's so funny that you have someone who, like Lambert, who is more, in terms of how the story plays out and how they treat her in the narrative, she is more important. But I found myself much more related to the, quote, comic relief. You know, like we said, Brett and Parker. Parker played by, let me check here, Yaphet Kotto. I didn't want to get that wrong. And, of course, Harry Dean Stanton as Brett. You know, they come off as the comedic relief. You know, Brett's always saying right to everything Parker. He just agrees with him. But they were the most human and the most relatable because they are the everyman. They are, like you said, it reminds you of an oil rig. They're just these guys who are just doing their job. They signed on for a job to get paid. They didn't sign on for no alien, nothing
for sure.
Crazy.
And even Dallas has shades of that too, where there's a bit of Dallas that is Parker and Brett, where
Oh yeah.
he's not really, he knows he has to do this, and he's a captain, he's been doing it a long time, but he's not excited. He doesn't want to go out of his way to go find scientific discoveries. He just wants to get it done. So I think that he relates with them and he cuts them a little bit of slack.
But at the same time, he is the captain, and he
Yeah.
is so it's good. You can and he feeds off, and that's I guess why I like Alien in the narrative is because it's so contained. Even if you look at other classics or other really good films, they have usually branching out, like oh, my daughter or my wife that I miss back at home. You look at Interstellar, that whole entire crux of Matthew McConaughey is around his family. But when you look at Alien,
No
they
family.
they don't talk about their family, they don't talk about their friends, but you get that investment on them as a team because you see how dysfunctional they are, but they work as a team. They talk about how they've done previous runs, and then now Ash is on as a new team member, and
That's
you can
right.
tell there's been history with them, which is something that it only comes across from the performance and the writing. There's nothing really about the narrative that pushes that out. It's
Well,
that's how it is.
other than mini narratives of like even doing something simple like landing on a planet, which
Yeah.
in a lot of sci-fi movies we're like, oh, no problem. You just come out of hyperspace at an X-wing, fly down, maybe hit some fog.
Yeah.
This took the whole team, and they're constantly communicating. They have little malfunctions, engines running hot, problems. They're solving it together. They seem really relieved when they finish it. Like landings and takeoffs are given that sort of like NASA sort of quality.
Realistic, not
Yeah.
necessarily because no one's landing giant spaceships on any planets ever, except for maybe a moon landing, but it feels how it would actually feel, I imagine. There's tensity, there's stakes to be had, and that feels it feels high stakes throughout the entire movie, even when it's supposed to be not making you feel super tense. But now that we've got our crew, let's kind of let's look at, yeah, I guess the thing about Alien is that if you show me a screenshot of Alien, I'll be able to tell you that it's Alien. But I think a lot of the movie kind of blends together, but sometimes that's negative. Usually it's negative. But
Yeah.
for this, I think it's just such a seamless experience that, I mean, you could pick out iconic scenes, like John Hurt's scene, which I'm sure we'll talk about. That, like you said, in the end, when she's in the escape pod with the vents and stuff, the vent scene with Dallas, there's very specific scenes, but the stuff in the middle is just them talking, figuring things out, really, really trying to look at things and balance the pros and cons. It feels very human in the way that it would go about. So I guess in that way, it doesn't stick out or feel like in parts, to me at least, because it all seamlessly flows together. What do you think? Is it?
Well, when I think about the colors and the tones of the film, I remember the first part of the movie is very dark, very blue. Everything's dark, and then the first white you see is the living quarters, where they have their food, and then and then the lights come on, and then the white pods come up, and they do a really great job of showing like where the humans are is very nice and white and clean. The rest of the ship is like so dark and moist and greasy and dirty.
Except for you have like the mother chamber, everything that seems like it's a computer, or the mother chamber is, I think, actually the only other thing really besides the med bay and the crew quarters that's clean. Everything else, even where they sit and stuff, like you said, it's grimy and dirty and greasy and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's very lived in. There's the food,
Yeah.
there's coffee cups everywhere, like there would be. Oh, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Well, shit, sometimes I do that. I'll just interrupt you and then you lose your train of thought because I'm a bad co-host. But
Yeah, that's all right. Oh, you know what I was gonna say is that it's not even a spaceship. It looks like a floating oil refinery.
well, it's because you have the whole big part of it is actually the cargo, and then they have the little ship part that's controlling it, and that's why most of it, they detach from the giant cargo. But I think the thing is it looks so intimidating. But when you think about the fact that there's 7 people on this giant
Yeah.
rig, it makes it so scary because of the open space
Sure,
and all
yeah.
the different places it could be hiding. So that's why I think it's a really good setting. I don't think it would have worked out on like a cruiser or whatever, some other sort. I think it had to be a resource-based cargo because they're inherently defenseless. They have to rig up some propane tanks and stuff to make flamethrowers. They don't have any defenses against them. They are it's like being like Captain Phillips, the movie where he's in a cargo ship based off the true story of Somali pirates. Like that's the worst person to be, to get attacked by anything. You have no defenses. So I think the fact that they made it like a down to earth resource based maneuver ship, that's the scariest part about it too. It's not a crew of like fighters.
Yeah, it's just like the way they react to everything. They don't want to go after this alien, but the motivation is given where Ash lets them know.
Yeah,
He reads them off the contract with a very android like recollection,
yeah,
basically saying like, oh, subsection 4, he's got a photographic memory about it, says you can forfeit your money. We already know they care about money because that's the first thing they argued about when they woke up and
exactly.
when they're sitting around. So the motivation is go to this planet or you're going to lose all your money. Then they're all in. They all got to do it. And also just with, they didn't really want to fight the alien until they have to survive. And that
Well,
makes sense.
there's even a part, and this is one of my favorite parts, is that yeah, they are constantly like, do we follow the alien, do we not? Some people want to, some people don't. Dallas kind of spearheads the whole plan in the beginning, and Parker is always like, no, I don't want to do any of this. Brett too, they're like, no, I'm really not, I didn't sign up for this. But it isn't until there's the death of Dallas, and I believe Lambert gets taken, or maybe it's right after Dallas, where Parker is now has motivation to, he's like, oh, I'm down to kill the alien now because it's taken something from him. So it's good to see, just as a character trait, that money, I guess, isn't the only thing that will motivate them to put their lives at risk, which is
I mean they're inseparable, those two, and they're really in it together. I like the exchange they have where they land and there's problems, and Dallas is asking them over the intercom, and they're doing this great thing where they're switching audio perspectives and visual perspectives. So sometimes
Yeah.
you hear them, that sort of distorted radio thing, and then you cut over to them and you can hear them perfectly. And Dallas asking how long it's going to take, and what's his name, the white dude, the
Brett,
white
I think
engineer.
Brett says,
Brett.
yeah, Brett says about 17 hours, right?
Yeah, and then he comes on. He's like, "Oh, yeah, it'll be 25 hours." And it's just that. I mean, if you've ever worked on a crew or with people
Yeah.
that are dealing with bosses, they're just kind of playing the game, and that's such a nice, realistic touch. Where they're always trying to have like one up over the boss, just in case they get in trouble. They're still worried about that.
It's yeah, I think like we've said, I think the best part about this movie is just its humanity, its inherent relatability,
Yeah.
due to the writing. So jumping off of that, speaking of realistic things, because this is technically the most realistic thing in Alien, is John Hurt's iconic scene with the chest burster. It's a well-known movie trivia fact, but the scene in which the alien first emerges out of John Hurt's chest at a dinner scene, that was all not improvised. They only told John Hurt, the guy who dies, what was going to happen. So you get the realistic reactions of everybody. So this scene, what do you think made it so iconic? Because going back and looking at it, I mean, it's very good suspense. The buildup is really great. The gore factor is there. But as a thing, I don't know if it's a combination of those things. I would say that looking back right now, if I were to watch the movie today, based against everything else, I would say there's more iconic, gory deaths, in movies, or more impressive ones. I don't know if it was because it came out in '79, but I think, what elements do you think made this into a iconic scene that it is today? A heavy question, I know, but it's so utterly iconic. You have movies like Spaceballs that parody it
Yeah.
with no reference. It's just there and it's immediately understood. And it's been duplicated several times in other horror movies. Whether maybe they were the first to do it.
Well,
maybe.
I mean, first off, you get sort of the uniqueness of the death, and that feeling of something coming out of you is such like an icky feeling. I mean, if you think about bugs crawling all over you or inside of you, is so disgusting, right? Also, the surprise of it, because Ridley Scott, like I mentioned a few times, he really dissipates everything. He's like, oh, everything's going to be okay. We're back to having a nice, fun, sitting around joking. Everyone's laughing, and this guy's just stuffing his face.
Yeah.
Kane is just stuffing and stuffing. They're all joking. They're all having a great time. And then he starts coughing, and you think, oh, well, he's coughing because he ate all this food. So there's so much misdirection that's done in a really realistic way. It doesn't feel cheap at all, that when he starts having the spasm, and you're freaking out, wondering what's going on, and they're treating it very normally. They're like, put something between his teeth. He's having a seizure. Yeah. So then when it bursts out, I don't think if you now obviously you're expecting it.
Yeah.
But at the time, you wouldn't have expected that to come out.
Well, and I guess, like you said, they do such a good job at distracting you and dissipating the tension. John Hurt, he gets the face hugger. He's in critical condition, and then they find that it's just off his face. It's not connected to him anymore. Where is it at? They find the face hugger. That's when they find out it has acidic blood. They kill it, or they think they get rid of it, and then everything's fine. It's all cozy. It's all good. Kane, John Hurt's character, is looking back to normal, and then that's when they hit you with the first death. It's super, super effective. Something about that narrative wise though that I really like, that really kind of, I think, builds that death more as the movie continues, is that thing that bursts out of Kane is a baby alien that becomes the alien that's on the ship.
Yeah.
And it's either Parker or maybe it's Sigourney Weaver's character, maybe it's Ripley who calls the alien Kane's son. It's a one offhanded like line or something.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, no. He refers to, he's like, oh, they're referring to the alien it, and he says, oh yeah, Kane's son, or Kane's, because in the truest sense, Kane was, not inseminated, but he birthed the alien, which is crazy. And then when he said that comment, you're like, yeah, I guess it wasn't just inside of him, like it birthed into him, which is grotesque. It is horrendous. But the reason I bring that up is because I think that every other death is underwhelming for today's standards, but maybe a little bit underwhelming for what they could have done. Oftentimes when a character dies, specifically with him like Parker, you just see a quick like, cool, and maybe some blood splatter, maybe if you can it's like a 6-frame shot, just like a quick thing, and then that's it.
Yeah, well, he comes into to protect one of the girls. I think he comes to protect Cartwright, and then and he's the first person to charge the alien, and he gets kind of shoved to the side. You don't really see his death until, because they don't really tell you what happened. Ripley's still running back for some reason to save him, and then she sees that they kind of show you his body in two pieces from different distances. So it's like very dark.
I always thought that was because that shot is it's a pair of legs hanging. Yeah, they're white legs, and Parker's black, and then you see Parker in the background, but he's obstructed, and right after the alien kills Parker, you see the tail slide up Lambert's leg, and it insinuates that it's raping her or something like that, or hanging her. So I always thought that last scene is Parker's legs, or Parker's dead in the background, and then she's hanging from whatever, with the blood coming out of her. So I always thought that. But when you look at that, like, that has some payoff, but you never. Brett's death is good because you actually see the alien kind of eating him before it takes up with the vent. Dallas, you don't get really anything with Dallas.
No, because Dallas and Brett were supposed to be taken away. Yeah, and then there was a scene in the director's cut where they're sort of like all cocooned up. And
is that in the director's cut? Because I've seen that part, and it's been a while since I've seen Aliens, Alien 3, and Resurrection. I couldn't remember if that was in a further movie when you find out they harvest them.
I thought that was in Aliens too, and my version didn't have that.
Yeah,
but I was doing some research, and I saw that's a scene from the director's cut where Ripley finds them and they ask to be killed.
I think. Yeah, okay, then I've seen the director's cut. I mean, I've seen this movie several times, and I have a few close friends, Corey and Andy, who are like super in love with this movie. So I've seen it, the director's cut, plenty of times, and I remember that being a story thing. I just didn't remember if it was from the director's cut.
Right before, remember I had mentioned earlier that Ridley, my man Ridley, he does a great job of switching gears to sort of build up to the next jump.
Yes,
and what he had done is to build up towards the chest bursting scene, and this is why I think it's so effective, is that like 4 or 5 scenes earlier, after we've all dealt with like the alien blood and all this tension and everything, he just has this scene of the engineers and they're working on a problem by themselves, and they're kind of having this like weird clunky dialogue, and they're like, oh, we shouldn't have landed in this place in the first place. They say place twice, which I thought was weird. They're just saying like, we gotta get off this ball of
gotta do this thing with the thing.
Ball of hate, and it's a very, very just casual, just guys like hanging. Yeah. And then that's when they build you up for that second jump, because he knows that, like Spielberg said, you only get a chance for one big jump. And in Jaws, Spielberg planned for a second jump, and he realized that it never got people like the first one.
No, because there's he's true in that you only have a really big jump unless you put one at the very beginning of your film, like Cabin in the Woods, how it kind of erupts. The title screen is a jump scare in itself. You're only going to get away with one really, really good one. And I think that one
title screen.
Yeah, have you ever seen Cabin in the Woods?
No.
Cabin in the Woods. It's a tribute to. Well,
now it's ruined because I know the jump scare is coming.
Well, you won't know because the title is so out of nowhere. It's really great. It's probably one of the most pure jump scares I've seen in a long time. It's just right out of nowhere. If you've never seen Cabin in the Woods and you're watching this now, we're talking about classics. Cabin in the Woods is probably the closest I would say to a classic that's come out I saw that on my 21st birthday. Yeah, that's what I was at least 5 years ago. That movie is good though. Cabin in the Woods is great. We're talking about Alien though. Let's wrap
Yes.
this up a bit. All right, so we have the iconic scene. We talked about that. I think the best jump. Let's do that. Best jump scare in Alien. Mine has to be the ending after Ripley's got off the ship. Like you said earlier, she's getting ready to go into cryo sleep with the cat. She's in her naked suit, her little panties and bra, and then she's going to like turn off the lights, and this piece of what you assumed was piping for the longest time for the whole entire scene, because it's always up, it's always in the shot. It just looks dark and pipey. It just it comes to life, and that's the alien. It's just been sitting there the entire time. And I think the reason it is so effective is because you see it before it jumps at you, but you don't assess it as a threat because it just looks like sci-fi piping. I think that was the most effective for me. What about you?
Yeah, I don't think of this movie as a jump scare kind of movie.
No, it's very much a suspense film, but there is jump scares.
But I would say that's pretty effective. I mean, I love that because you've never seen anytime the alien makes an appearance is always such a big deal. So to have it just right in your face was genius. You know, one of the ones I didn't like is when Tom Skerritt is trapped, Captain Dallas. I don't really like his death because I feel like it's a bit clunky. Like he's kind of looking for it, and then all of a sudden he decides to run. I mean, that's what you were looking for the whole time. So I don't see why he changed his plan, other than just maybe panic and maybe Cartwright panicking him because he's just like run, run, run.
It's coming towards you.
But when he turns around and sees it, I thought that would have been great. But then the alien gives him like these jazz hands. Like, hey.
It's actually funny because my girlfriend Sabrina brought it up at the time. Right after Dallas dies, she just looks at me and she goes, "Why did the alien give him those hands?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like the hug."
Yeah, but there's this thing of movie logic where a predator will always go rah before it attacks, and that always gives the prey time to run away, or just makes it more theatrical. When like obviously a predator would be hiding, and then the first move it makes would be the kill move. It wouldn't go ah.
I think that was probably why Dallas's death was disappointing for me, is because you don't get to see a solid death. All you get to see is jazz hands from an alien, and I guess jazz hands alien is decent enough.
But that's
in retrospect.
See, that's what happens is he gets taken away. So I can see why I really wanted to put in that other scene where you find out where these people go. Why do they just
I feel like that was missing. And when I watched it back, and that's why I say I hate to bring it back up, but like I felt like I was like, am I misremembering this from the last time I watched it? And I was like, no. And maybe it is in Aliens. I don't know. But Alien, as a film, we've talked about it in extent. Here's something that people say. Do you think Alien is the best one of the series?
Yes.
Riri. See, I'm not a big fan of Alien 3. I like Aliens quite a bit.
Well, no, of course not a fan of Alien 3. You have a fucking brain.
Aliens, I think, gives it a run for its money. But Alien will always be a classic. Ridley Scott, it's what, I mean, maybe not gave him the name he has today, but it definitely was further testament to how great of a director and visionary this guy is.
Do you know that the scene where Brett dies in that area where he dies, where it's constantly sort of raining?
Yeah, and it's the chains are
clanging.
Yeah, it's very good.
That part felt so Blade Runner to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, it makes a whole lot of sense. You can see that. I think a lot of the use of color in this movie.
I think he ripped off Blade Runner.
Wasn't Ridley Scott the guy who directed Blade Runner?
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say, like, what am I? I mean, okay, I'm not the greatest with directors, but I was gonna be like, Matt, are you sure?
But I don't remember that part so much. But I love that tone that it kind of has this like Japanese cyberpunk sort of the industrial city with just a little bit of organic life somehow creeping into it.
Thank you for bringing up the adjective, because I've been searching my brain for that word this entire 40 minutes. Industrial. That's what this is. It's industrial terror in space. No one can hear you scream. And here's the thing. I didn't really scream a lot at Alien. I've never really screamed a lot at Alien. I've never found
movies.
You know what? No, but I've never really felt inherently scared by Alien. I think maybe
when you were younger.
Yeah, I mean, probably like the first time I saw it. But then again, I was also scared of Pee-wee's Big Adventure with Large Marge. So, like, what are you going to do? I don't know if you get that reference. If you watched Pee-wee's Big Adventure when you were a kid, you know that reference.
Too scary. But my first memory of Alien was being at a friend's house, and the older brothers had it on. And and I remember looking at it and saying, "That movie's so dark. What are you watching?" He said,
It's Ridley
"Alien,"
Scott. Alien. It's a great movie. I
and they
think it's
wouldn't let
more
us
of a
watch it.
it's well, hey, you were a kid, man. It's still pretty. It could scar you. I mean, it's the alien design is really, really good. In the last scene, you can kind of tell that it's a person in a suit, but I think the design of the alien, the mouth within the mouth, is just purely terrifying. It's a fantastic design. I think aesthetically, I
Oh
think
yeah.
Alien evokes horror elements, truly terrorists or terrifying things. Terrorists. That's almost a word. Um, but I don't think it's as scary fundamentally or as heart racing. But maybe it's just me and I'm spoiled on, gore fest modern day films and,
Well, I mean, if you think of horror as the unknown and the suspense and the dread, when a movie has become this iconic, it's pretty hard to be scared by it because
yeah, I think
you know everything that's coming.
it,
You and I have already filled in our minds what the rest of the alien looks like. We've
yeah,
seen movies where they're fully fleshed out.
yep.
But man, is it ever a testament to practical effects, guys in suits, using
And let
effects
me
sparingly and just hiding it?
great
Nothing in this movie looked old.
great minds think alike because I want to bounce this unless you have any more to say about Alien. I just want to bounce this to the new Alien Covenant movie. You just,
We can wrap up overall thoughts later. Bounce with me.
I was just gonna say, you said it's a testament to practical effects, and when I look at Alien One, Alien in his least favorable, when you can really truly tell that it is a guy in a suit with whatever, I would still prefer that than the CGI alien on top of Danny McBride's helicopter thing that I've seen in the trailers. Yeah, I mean CGI is okay, but I think the alien is so scary because it is so human in its stature. It's like it's gross, and that's why I think that. Oh, when I saw that CGI alien, I don't know if you've seen the Alien Covenant trailer. I think it's the first official trailer, but there's there's a xenomorph hanging on top of one of the ships and stuff, and it just looks so hokey. And I think that's because they've always been practical, or at least you could see it being practical. So yeah, no one's gonna hear this that makes those movies, but it's a testament. Like, just look at Mad Max Fury Road, dude. Practical is the way to go. It's not always the best way. CGI is useful, but don't use your entire monster as CGI. I don't
No,
think
anything that's close up,
unless
or
it's Godzilla.
is supposed to have But I still like Godzilla in a suit.
Well, me too, but that's because I like that.
Make
We're
the
way
building
off topic.
small.
Make the building small. Don't use a model city. Make a model Godzilla. I don't know. Alien.
No. I mean, practical effects. They're probably. I don't know if they're more expensive. Maybe more time consuming. I think it's
Definitely more
easier
time.
to throw a team of 300 people animating CGI scenes, and they have their uses, and it's getting better. Things that are far away, changing backgrounds, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
I think it's great for CGI. Matte paintings, I think, still look really, really good. But when something is close up, it needs to be in the scene and existing.
Yep.
Uh, Knowing that it's a guy in a suit is still a million times better than knowing it's CGI, because at least the guy in the suit is there.
Unless it's super, super impressive, and the only movie that's ever impressed me by its CGI, fundamentally just based on the idea that it's CGI and not practical, is The Jungle Book. That's the only reason I was like, oh, I'm glad I knew that was CGI, because now I can be impressed with how good it was.
That's why I didn't see Jungle Book, because from the trailer I thought, this is just a whole bunch of CGI and some kid. I don't want to watch some kid staring at CGI.
It's good. Just like you said in the Kong review, where you felt that Brie Larson's character was able to evoke the realness from nothing. Jungle Book is everything. That is
Wow.
Jungle Book. Yeah, that kid carries that movie in amazing ways. I would totally recommend seeing that. But yeah, that's the furthest cry from Ridley Scott's classic Alien, The Jungle Book.
We should check out Aliens
Yeah, for sure.
and then rank them.
Yeah, you want to do that?
Just
We
the
got Harry
two.
Potter.
We don't need to
Yeah.
watch the other ones, but
Yeah, I mean, I'll give Aliens a go. Are you going to be checking out Alien Covenant opening weekend?
yeah.
See, I'm not. I'm not going to be, because, like I said earlier, Andy and Corey, they're my Alien homies, dude.
Right.
I see everything Alien with them. They're going to be checking it out in Columbus. It's a city in Ohio. They're going to a festival. As is my girlfriend. I'm gonna miss it. I'm not gonna go see it alone. I'm a baby. I don't like horror movies by myself. I'm a scaredy baby.
Oh, really? I always
yeah,
thought
man.
you was like a deranged psychopath who grew up on horror movies and nothing phases you.
I like playing horror games alone in the dark, but that's because I have complete control over it. You're really
Right.
at when you go to see a film and you're at the whims of the director, and if the director is good, you're going to get scared.
Hmm.
And I think Alien Covenant is going to be definitely scary. I don't know. I'll definitely see Stephen King's It when it comes out, but that's just because I'm amped for that movie. But yeah,
I don't think Alien Covenant will be scary.
no, I think it's gonna be gory.
I think it's going to be, from what I've seen in the trailer, it looks like rehash crazy. It's just a remixed version of the first Alien. Like Prometheus had so many elements of the original
Sci-fi. It was
Alien, but even the way they approach the structure and they walk up to it and then they encounter
mhm.
the first alien, I thought this is so lame. It's just the same thing over and over again. And it looks like he took the backlash to Prometheus to heart, and he's
Yep.
showing everybody, don't worry, it'll be just like the first one you liked.
It'll be just like Alien, the Alien you love, the Alien you care for. You want to do a star rating on this? I mean, it's
5.
the F5. It's not even. There's not even a question.
Okay, how about this? Here's a harder one. Is there anything wrong with it? There's
The
there's
fact that it took me that long and I still don't have anything. No, I
there's
don't.
there's one effect I thought looked a
Yeah,
little bit dated.
Lam- Lambert
Uh,
is the problem with it.
when they are who, the girl, Cartwright.
Yeah, Cartwright's performance is the only thing I don't like about that movie.
You need one person freaking out. I think that kind of humanizes
No,
it.
I'm not even saying Lambert's character. I'm just saying Cartwright's performance. Like the character, I'm okay with, but I think her
Why? Just too
specific
over the top?
Yeah, I think it's just a little bit. And okay, when you hear, go watch the iconic scene where you get the chest burster and
Hmm.
hear Veronica Cartwright go, "Oh God!" Unless it's Sigourney Weaver. Maybe that is Sigourney Weaver. Regardless,
No. It's definitely
okay.
Cartwright doing the oh
And
god, oh god.
I was gonna feel really bad about saying that it's like stands out, and then you can never unhear it, and it kind of ruins the tense for me. It's just like everyone else is freaking out, and then you have her like kind of like sixth grade acting. You can't see her face, so you don't have the emotion. Oh God! And I'm like, I know it's scary, Veronica Cartwright. Calm down.
Didn't
But
bother
then again,
me. Didn't bother me at all.
it also, I mean, I can get over it because the actress truly fainted. I mean, she got splashed with blood.
Yeah.
She fainted hard. But I don't know, man. It's just something about her character or her performance. Right? It's not that I don't like the actress. I don't mind her in other things. It's just her portrayal in that was just weird. But in what were you gonna say? Because there might be an effect that I was missing.
With the first space shots where they're approaching the
Jazz
planet,
hands. Yeah, yeah.
and then they show another shot from inside the cockpit, and they're looking out the cockpit windows,
Yeah.
and you
Okay.
see the space there. And I think that part is a little bit obvious that it's green screen, but that's so extremely nitpicky.
And I think that's just it's because of the time. There's only so much they could have done.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it still looked good. That's how hard it is to find a fault with this.
I think that Alien
That's
is
how
a
deep I would dig.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think Alien is a nearly flawless film for people who like horror movies or suspense movies. I think if you're somebody who isn't super into it or doesn't have nostalgia for it and you're watching it for the first time, you might think it's a little bit too slow of a burn, especially if it's been built up. People say Alien, most horrifying movie of all time. People say that shit like about Jaws and stuff like that.
I wouldn't call it that. I wouldn't say most horrifying. I would say it's the greatest blend of sci-fi
And
with
horror.
horror.
Yeah, okay, I'll say that.
And
I'll take that.
that's kind of why it does so well, is because it's kind of like one of those movies where they trick you with the genre.
Yeah.
It's such a fun kind of like curious sci-fi romp, and then all of a sudden it turns into this horror movie. It's kind of like Sunshine in that way,
It's kind of like Super. Have you ever seen Super?
with Rainn Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Yeah, that movie also throws you through a loop on your genre. You're like superhero, huh? No. Check out
Right.
that movie. Super. Wow, this is just this should just be us giving awesome recommendations on movies that are 10 out of 10 cuz you can't go wrong with Super.
Here's a recommendation I'd like to give.
Alien
If
Covenant.
if people haven't seen Ghost in the Hill,
I've never seen
Ghost in the Shell, not
I was
on the
gonna say
hill.
Ghost in the Hill. I have not seen Ghost in the Shell yet. I want to check that out though.
It's-
I also
it's-
want to see Get Out.
Yeah,
I've heard a lot of really good things about Get Out. I mean, it had 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, 99 I think, because one guy was an asshole.
that's the hype.
But-
That was an asshole. Come on.
I mean, okay. Regardless, I think it's
But
it's
a
supposed
lot
to
of
be that good.
of them get 100% before they're out. It's the hype train. It's just all the user reviews. But Ghost in the Shell is not. It doesn't reach the filmic heights of Ghost in the Shell 1995. It doesn't properly explore the great philosophical questions.
But it's a visual orgy, isn't it?
as far as a fucking movie, holy shit, that is
I think Blade
almost
Runner is
every
going to give it.
almost every scene is glorious to look at.
I
If you
think
watch
Blade.
Ghost in the Shell, make sure like headphones, proper screen. It's so nice to look at.
I think Blade Runner 2099 is going to give it a run for its money. If you've seen that trailer, it looks just visually speaking, maybe
Yeah,
not
I
on
think
like the
it'll look pretty good.
neon or but I
Ghost in the
think
Shell was very dense,
yeah, okay, that'll make sense. I have to
extremely
watch it.
dense. I think Blade Runner is going to be pretty drawn out. I think the director match is perfect after watching
Yeah.
Arrival.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. If you haven't seen Prisoners, same director as
Okay.
Arrival, movie Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal, great film.
Oh,
Two girls get kidnapped. Paul Dano, that actor, he's in it. Oh, fantastic film. A thriller, suspense, not a horror movie. Anyways, Alien, 5 out of 5 stars.
oh, also something I wanted to bring up too. I hadn't rewatched Guardians of the Galaxy before I watched Volume 2, and
Yeah,
you were really disappointed with Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
yeah. I thought it was okay. I thought it was okay. I thought it was mediocre at best. Maybe a little
And
bit above average.
and then when I went back and watched Volume 1, oh my god, you're so right. There's so much heart and personality.
Yeah,
There's so much more stakes. You care so much more. The motivations make sense. Volume 2 feels like a greatest hits kind of really feels like they're trying to recreate everything. It feels a bit forced. There's way more jokes.
yeah.
And nothing
It's a
really feels
different
like
movie.
it means anything until the end.
Yeah.
Whereas, man, Volume 1 is that's a real modern classic.
Oh, I mean, no, it truly is. I think the Guardians 2 is a good imitation, is what I
Yeah.
think it is. I
Yeah.
think it's a good imitation. It hits the Guardians notes, and then it hits some of them too many times. It's like that annoying cousin who keeps hitting the top note on the key of the piano at your house at a party, and you're like really annoyed, except for the top heat, that top key, it's not a piano key. It's a joke, and it's Marvel just pressing the joke button over and over, and you're like, that's not why I like Guardians.
But
Um,
how many years were between the movies? Two, 3 years?
it can't be more than 3 or 4.
Right.
It
Do you
cannot be
know
more than
how many years were between Alien and Aliens?
Oh, geez, 79 to what, 90 or 86 was it? Shit, I think Aliens was 86. It's either 7 years or it was 92 or something like that. I don't know. Tell me, Matt. You know these things. I think the internet must help you.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up. I don't know.
Well, while Matt looks that up, I'm gonna
1986.
1986. Okay, I was right.
7 years. Yeah, that's quite a long time between sequels. It gives time for you to come up with an original idea, and James Cameron took it
When
in
did
such a great direction.
when did Prometheus come out? Like, I feel like that's been like 2012. Maybe it's been 5 years since Prometheus came out. I feel like that
My
was
grandma was still alive, so I think
it has to be a while.
2009 or 10.
Jeez, that has to be just as long, man. Prometheus was. I remember everyone was hyping that movie up. I don't know, dude. Prometheus
2012.
is good. Yeah, 5 years.
End of the
then.
world.
Oh, watch out, John Cusack. Or was it Tom Cruise in that movie? I don't remember.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
In 2012?
Yeah, I think so.
I get my white actors mixed up.
That was
My bad.
when they were trying to make Jake Gyllenhaal like the sort of mainstream.
I thought it was John Cusack. That was
disaster
War of
movie.
the Worlds. No, that was Tom Cruise.
That was Tom Cruise.
Alien is great. Has none of those actors. It has Sigourney Weaver, Tom Selleck, the late, the great John Hurt.
Yeah.
Best known for his role as Ollivander. Well, best known for a lot of roles, but probably modern day Ollivander in Harry Potter. If anything, if you like Harry Potter and you've never seen Alien, go back so you can see John Hurt when he was like young and good looking. Man, that guy.
In 1984.
Yeah. 79.
The movie 1984.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, we're all over the place. I've been Matt Owen.
Matthew Falvey. We write stuff for 90skid.com.
That we do.
I'm on Twitter at GameThinkTalk.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at SuperGamecast64 or at SGC64Matt. Hit me up on that one, at SGC64Matt. That's
Okay.
the good one to be at. That's my personal one. You know, if you want to check out my podcast, Super Gamecast64, you can find it on iTunes and Stitcher. But that's a thing.
Why do you have to say Stitcher too? If
Because
it's on
it's like
iTunes,
the-
it's on Stitcher.
Well, it's iTunes and Stitcher. It's not on Google Play though, because Google Play is weird. I'm working on that now. Guys, don't worry about it. No one listens to my podcast.
All right.
People
Well,
do.
you'll probably notice not many people watch this, so if you think someone might like it, tell them about it.
Yeah, dude. If you like Alien and you liked our opinion on Alien, share this out.
I don't like sharing it. I
I
never
do
share
like
on my
sharing.
main Facebook the things I watch.
I do. I do the sharing. You guys should do the sharing too. Help a brother out.
I hide my personality.
Well, I
And my likes.
that's you're being closed off, Matt. Open up a little bit. Just
Yes.
like John Hurt's chest.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
That's a good closer.
Bye.